Hey everyone, it's Ian with Motorcycling. I'm here to talk about Magic the Gathering today. This would be my first video on Magic the Gathering. I am presenting a black and blue deck today. It revolves around a card that I've been wanting to make a deck for in a very long time. When this card first came out, Magic the Gathering didn't have an arsenal of cards to make this particular deck playable. What I mean by that is that it would be it would actually work in a way where it actually would run the way that I want it to run. So it's black and blue, and it's on the control side, and it's kind of fun. I'll go through the decks and then I'll talk about in what setting I usually play with. So just to let you know, I play casual. I do not play Type 2. I do not play competitively for prizes or anything like that. I'm a tabletop player, and I have a lot of fun playing tabletop. So let's get started. So the card that I'm talking about for this deck that the whole entire deck is based around is Mist of Stagnation. Permanents don't untap during each player's untap steps, but at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps a permanent for each card in the graveyard. So the idea is to empty out your opponent's graveyard and fill your own graveyard so that you can untap and do things. While this card has a casting cost of 5 and I run 4 of them, it's still pretty fun to play even with other cards to build up to it. And it's kind of a pain when you don't draw the mist, but there are cards in the deck that will allow you to draw into them and then allow you to stall while you try to pull this card off. Okay? So the first card that I use in my deck is Sleep. Basically, tap all creatures target player controls, and then those creatures don't untap during the next untap step. So it buys you a turn in case you're playing against an aggressive deck and you're down to 2 life and you just want to try one more turn and pray to God you draw into a miss, and hopefully in this way it will allow you to tap all the creatures so they won't be able to attack you when you do play your miss the following turn. The next card is Web of Inertia. I run 4 of these. It's really important and pretty much imperative actually to empty their graveyard out early in the game so that you can drop this on turn 3 and slow down their attacks as much as you possibly can when you're playing against aggressive decks. If you're playing burn deck, this deck's pretty much screwed, because the only thing you're having hope now is to tap their mana so they can't untap to continue burning you. But against creature decks, Web of Inertia is great, especially if you somehow get their graveyard empty at the beginning of the game. The next card is Frozen Ether. I find this card very useful because even by the 4th turn you play this, you can potentially slow down your opponents already, because they play their artifacts, creatures, and lands into tapped. When it comes into play, they're tapped, and therefore, you know, I get to untap. I get to play my lands untapped, and it helps me out a lot. So I can still continue cast spells while my opponents are still pretty slow. Now the following card I put in here just for fun. These 2 cards are for Ludwig's Test Subject. When my opponents are pretty much kind of stuck and they're just sitting there waiting to be able to do something because all the permanents are tapped, I generally will try to keep 2 to 4 lands open, and I can just start building on this guy, make him a 13/13, and start attacking. So that's Ludwig's Test Subject. I run 2 of those. The last blue card in the deck is Donate, and the reason why I run this is because if I'm playing against multiplayer and I'm able to get through on all the players except for one person who's not playing a creature deck, who is playing defensively like I am, then what I'll do is I'll donate my Phage, and hopefully it will go through and be successful, and then I can try and make the player lose this way. So that's why I have 1 donate in here and 1 Phage. Otherwise, if I don't need to donate, I can just attack each person because all the creatures are tapped and I can get through and win that way. So that's my Fate as the first black card of the deck. I also run 3 Carrion Worms. They're pretty useful when, I mean, they're 5. The casting cost is 5 for a 6/5, and when your opponent's graveyards, they're pretty empty as it is, I'm able to get all this damage through. So that's useful in this deck. I run 3. I probably should run 2 only. I probably only need 2, but I'm trying it out 3 right now. The next card is what helps Mist of Stagnation deck like mine works. Before, when Mist came out, this card was not available. And when it became available, I was jumping for joy, and that's Leyline on the Void. At the beginning of the game, if you have this in your hand, you're pretty much golden. And you just pray to God that in a multiplayer game, you're not going to be killed by 3rd turn, and hopefully you have a Web of Inertia in hand. Because at the beginning of the game, people can't really put anything in play yet, in their graveyards yet. So you drop this down beginning of the game, and you're pretty much set for a while. But keep in mind, though, you'll probably be the target for the first 3 or 4 turns. Keeping your opponent's graveyard obviously empty is also helpful at the beginning of the game because Gravestorm helps me draw a lot into Mist and into other enchantments to get my deck going, to get my my combo all set up. So that's Gravestorm, and I use, in order to help increase my chance of drawing into Gravestorm and Web of Inertia is really my main concern, I play with 3 Dimir Machinations. I don't play this top ability, I play the Transmute. The Transmute says discard this card and search my library for a card with the same converted mana cost as the card you're discarding, which is this. So the same converted mana cost is 3 for this one, so I end up searching for either Gravestorm, which has a converted mana cost of 3, or a Web of Inertia, which also has a converted mana cost of 3. So that's what I use these 3 for in the deck, is to try and get a card with that converted mana cost. Rarely do I use this to try and get a donate, because there's only 1 donate in the deck, but if I already have my combo out, then I'll use this to try and get a donate so I can give my Phage away and kill somebody. Alright, so that's the black and blue. I only have 6 artifacts to help increase chance of keeping my opponent's graveyard empty. Tormod's Crypt is usually helpful when I have multiple opponents and I have to empty their graveyards before I play Leyline. I mean, it costs 0 and you just can pop it right away. Scribing Claws is good for beginning of the game when I can keep opponent's graveyard low, so that I can, when I play Web of Inertia, it helps maintain that control for a while until I get my Mist out. As far as lands go, since I play tabletop, I don't run a lot of true duels, such as Watery Grave, but I do run 4 Creeping Tar Pit because when opponents are tapped down, everybody's kind of sitting around figuring out what to do, and if my 13/13 can't get through, then I would use these to attack, and because they're unblockable, so it helps a lot. So that's what I use these for. And of course also the plus of being able to add a black and a blue, or a blue. I play 4 Drowned Catacombs, and that's pretty much my dual land for the lands. Is I only have 8 lands that actually produce black or blue, and that's 4 Drowned Catacomb and 4 Creeping Tar Pits. The rest of my lands are just 7 islands and 7 swamps, and that's pretty much how I run my lands. 7 islands and 7 swamps. And that's pretty much, so that gives me about 22 lands, exactly 22 lands in the deck, and that's pretty much my black-blue Mist of Stagnation deck. Now what I'll do is I'll actually shuffle this real quick and give you an idea of how a hand would look. Just to see how a hand of 7 cards would actually look. And then you let me know, so yeah, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know, give me some suggestions how I can tweak this deck and make it better if you want to. If you don't want to and just want to watch the video and be done with it, that's fine too. I appreciate you stopping by. And yeah, so let me know. These things are, I didn't realize how colorful they are in the camera until now. So this, I mean, obviously this is a horrible shuffling job, but so this is an idea of how my hand would start out. So Web of Inertia is good in the hand right now. I got 2 mana. I also have the Ludovic is not really useful at the beginning of the hand. I would have liked, I really would have liked Leyline of the Void, but we got Tormod's Crypt, so let's try this. Just, a couple things. So, if I were to play first, I'd drop a land, drop a Tormod's Crypt, and say go. Draw, next card, another worm, that's not very helpful. Go. So, if you're playing an aggressive deck like Goblins or something, this would not be a good hand to start out with. Because, I'm not even getting a 3rd land. And by the time I get a 3rd land, I'm probably being attacked already. So yeah, that's an idea. Let's see what another hand of 7 would look like, and we'll talk here. Let's see what it looks like here. Yeah, so if that hand would have been perfect if you started with Leyline and draw into a 3rd land. That would have been perfect because you just drop the Leyline without paying its cost beginning of the game. And by 3rd turn, you would pretty much have Web of Inertia and you're set for a while if you're playing against creatures. How many is that? 2, 4, 6, 7. So here's just another idea of how... So that's just terrible. I'm just terrible at shuffling this. I apologize. Okay, that's pretty much the deck. Try to drop Leyline at the beginning of the game. If not, get your Scrubbing Claws out, your Tormod's Crypt, and hopefully you'll draw into a web and run from there. Alright, this is Ian with Votocycling. Let me know if you have any comments or if any questions. I will talk to you later.